Hello and welcome to another video talking about the new NieR Automata novel written in English. The original is called Nagai Hanashi, or A Long Story, and the English version is called Long Story Short. Oh my goodness. Hi. So in the last video I only talked about the prologue, so let me get into the first chapter. So here is the prologue I talked about. Now before I get into the first chapter here, I wanted to just talk about these illustrations here. These are all done by Itahana, and for some reason it seems like there's these weird kind of gray spots on the pages. I didn't remember these being on the original pages, so let me show you an example. So the page with 2B looks like this. So you can see this little round spot here at the bottom of the Japanese page is actually flipped up to the top of the English page. Now, I think this is what they did to help them take out the Japanese text. It was just easier for them to rotate this guy down here at the bottom up to the top than to have to mess around with the text and stuff. So there's a little bit of weird gray areas like that on these illustrations. Again, the original Japanese novel seems to have more kind of yellowish pages like this. It's really hard to tell the difference, but I think the English novel has more white tinted pages compared to the Japanese. What else? So that was about it that I wanted to say about the illustrations. Oh, also, the illustrations I thought seemed to be a little bit darker than in the English release. Maybe it's just me, but... or maybe it's the tint of the pages as well. But I thought that it just seemed a little bit darker. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway. Hi. So, let's get into the first chapter. So this is the prologue. I already talked about that. Now, the first chapter starts with this nice illustration of Adam as he's being born. Okay. Now, I've only read the first chapter of this book, so I still have all of this to go through, so I really can't say a whole lot as its whole content, but from this first chapter, I can tell you right now that I'm a little bit concerned about voice. For example, the difference between active and passive voice. Now, passive voice is going to be less action verbs and more helping, linking verbs. For example, something that uses had or has with a verb. Active verbs are going to be a single verb. For example, I run, I jump, she ran, and jump, and that kind of thing. Whereas passive voice verbs, helping verbs, are going to be I had thought, or she had done this, that kind of thing. So all of this is pretty much in the passive voice, which in my own creative writing courses in college, my professors always told me to stay away from passive voice and always go to active, because it alienates your reader to some degree, where you feel a great distance between the characters and the actual action of the page. So I don't know if this was an intentional decision on the translator's part, but the actual Japanese, it's interesting because from a linguistic standpoint, there really isn't so much active versus passive type speech as far as I'm aware. My experience with it. So it's entirely written here in English according to whatever the translator wants to be done. So I'm kind of worried why he chose to write in passive voice, because it's really, I really think that it makes the language more clunky and less fluent that way. So anyway, going into the actual meat of the page here, we've got the first highlighted thing. Desert military post. What are we talking about here? 2B and 9S had come. Oh, here's an example of that. Had come to the desert. Instead of saying they came, 2B and 9S came to the military post. No. See, you can see it all over the place. Recently there had been, blah, 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 had come. That is your passive voice. You really don't want to write that way. But specifically talking about this desert military post, it's not a military post, it's a resistance camp. The desert resistance camp. If you played the game, you would know this. If you saw the plays, you would know this. It's not ever referred to as a military post. Now, the thing is, this is not an incorrect translation from the Japanese. I went back to the Japanese book and looked to see what terms they used, and for the most part, the translation is clean. It's an accurate translation, but when you're translating something into a foreign language, you really need to change things up. You can't translate things as is. So, in the context of the story, and what has already been translated and made official, this is not referred to as a military post, it's the resistance camp. Something that this translator likes to do a lot is repeat the same words and phrases within a short distance, sometimes within the same sentence, sometimes within the same paragraph. So for example here, there was no mistake as to the meeting point. And down here, there was no mistaking that this place was the blah, 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 blah. So this kind of phrasing is repeated within the same paragraph. You really want to avoid doing that. Change up your words. You don't need to use the same terminology that's in the original language book. Change it up. Especially with English, you need to change words up. Using the same words is really taboo. Down here, this is, yeah, pod should be capitalized and no space between the numbers. That's just the way it's done in the game, and that's the way it should be done in the book as well. Down here, oh, before I was talking about, please use pronouns. Maybe it was here. Use pronouns. Holy cow. So, for example, here we've got 9S. He is a male model android. So, at this point, this is very, very early in the book, I was wondering that, if he wanted to avoid using a masculine pronoun here just because 9S is an android. He's not real. So I was wondering maybe he did that on purpose. But later, he actually starts using pronouns, so I don't know why it was done this way. Do not use the character's name this frequently like this, especially sentence after sentence. This is really not good. You need to change it up. The next thing here we were talking about, what was it? Forbidden from, okay, so you're talking about YoRHa. Yeah, unlike the YoRHa squadron, who were forbidden from experiencing emotions, this is actually incorrect. The YoRHa are not forbidden from experiencing emotion. They have emotion. They are built with emotion. The thing that they're forbidden from doing is expressing that emotion, because it gets in the way of their mission and it tends to make the mission fail in the end, because they start acting on their own emotions. So that's not good. So that's where that rule came from. So this point where it says that they're forbidden from experiencing emotion, this is actually incorrect. But I went back to the Japanese novel, and according to the text there, the translation is accurate. So that's interesting. Yeah, and this is our usual line here. Emotions are prohibited. So you have emotions, but they are, you are forbidden from expressing them. Not experiencing them, but expressing them. And the next line here, we've got a bit of dialogue with said to be. So you end a sentence with to be, and then the very next sentence you start with to be as well. Don't do this. Use a pronoun here. The second sentence should be she. Please don't ever do this. Especially when you started using a pronoun down here. Just because you use 9s here? Is that why you thought it was okay to use a pronoun here? I don't know. So yeah, it's not taboo to use pronouns. It's okay. Now down here with the highlighted gender, this is actually incorrect. From down below, it was hard to tell what the individual's gender was. You mean sex in this instance. Sex refers to your physical condition, whether you are male or female. Gender refers more to your personal identity. So from just looking at somebody, you can usually tell what their gender is by what they wear and how they act. But as opposed to their actual sex, that's what their physical body looks like. They can't change that. Unless you get operation. Okay, so here, please be careful of this difference. It's very, very important in the context of YoRHa, because that's one of the main themes throughout the whole story, is this difference between the two, and just how it relates to the characters as well. So, please be careful with that. Going down. Okay. Then we've got to open the sealed entrance. Jackass said this with a hint of amusement. You don't need this. Why is this there? Jackass said with a hint of amusement. You don't need this there. Take that out. That was a very small thing, but anyway. What's this? When Jackass had said, see, so many passive verbs here, helping verbs. You don't need had. When Jackass said open, she meant blow it up with explosives. Not with an explosion, with explosives. You blow something up with explosives. The explosion is what happens because of the explosives. So, yeah. This sounds much better, I think. If anyone wanted to know, these 3 black boxes, there's no meaning to this. The original Japanese only had a single asterisk like this. What is this? She's a violent person, isn't she? 9s mumbled inside. How can you mumble and sigh at the same time? She's a violent person, isn't she? Like that? That's confusing. If an explosion was necessary to open... Okay, whatever. See, explosion. He likes to use the same word multiple times. I think that was the reason I wanted to highlight. Here is a kind of unknown, not necessarily unknown, but unclear pronoun. So since down here we were talking about jackass, so apparently the next paragraph, the she, is referring to jackass, but it felt kind of weird. Usually you want to mention the character's name at the beginning of the paragraph and then start using the pronouns. So when you start a paragraph with the pronoun, it's very unclear who you're talking about. Oh, and always repeating a word like this. You really need to avoid this. Especially when you're using a a passive voice like this, it's kind of hard to avoid, but that's all the more reason to avoid passive voice. Had is not good. Good to write like that. Please, you can always rephrase things differently so that you can avoid things like this. Okay. The next highlighted thing, I'm already at 15 minutes, oh my god. The sensor in the goggles flashed red to show the proximity. The proximity of what? The sensor in the goggles. Okay, so this is a literal translation from the Japanese because they use the term goguru as for the visors. Goggles, the word goggles in English just has the image of like swimming goggles. So just that image and the word, that connection there is kind of strange. So usually in English we're going to change the goggles into visor because that's basically what it is. It's not a blindfold, but a visor. It covers the eyes. And there's a sensor inside those visors that will display images and things that the character can see. It's the HUD. Head, what is that? HUD? Head up display. Heads up display. So, to show the proximity. The enemy signals were getting closer. The sensor in the goggles flashed red to show the proximity of the enemy signals. So, these two sentences could actually be one sentence. It's a little bit clunky, but whatever. Yeah. Oh, this is another big thing. So in this scene, we're talking about 2B and 9S acting together. They're walking through the desert, trying to find the enemy location, the target location. But 2B plus 9S, that is 2 people, right? Then why does it say trio? There's cylindrical bodies creaking. 5 machines charged at the trio. So, I made a joke about this. It's 2B, 9S, and God. That's the only answer. Technically, there's 4 of them because you have 2B, 9S, plus the 2 pods. So, pod 042 and pod 153. So altogether there's 4 of them. But why does it say trio? This is a recurring instance. Trio happens more than once. Alright, going on. So 2B's smaller sword, I forget the name of it now. Her smaller sword is referred to as a military sword in this instance. It's a direct translation from the Japanese. I'm not going to remember what it was now. It's a direct translation, so it's not incorrect, but it's certainly not the term that was used in the game. Now, for the machines talking, whenever there's these, like, zeros and stuff in the text, all of the Japanese was written in katakana. So, I understand why, he's trying to use binary code with English. He's meshing the two together. It's alright. It's an interesting choice. But it does become a bit difficult to read. So, whatever. That's a personal choice. Going on. The remaining machine was routed under concentrated fire from pods 042 and 153. Routed under. What did that mean? It means to beat, crush, destroy. Why did he choose to use the word routed? Wouldn't it have been better just to say beaten? It was beaten under the concentrated fire. It was crushed under concentrated fire. It was destroyed under concentrated fire. Routed just seems like an awkward word choice here. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. It kind of hit me as strange. That's why I highlighted it. Alright. Going on. The resistance leader was not exaggerated when she had said the fierce machines were a lot of trouble. Alright, so this is referring to Anemone. She's the resistance leader, so apparently 2B and 9S had discussed things with her prior to this mission, which in the game they did. So it's kind of curious why they left that bit out of the book. Maybe it was just an unnecessary scene to depict, maybe? Alright, going on. Similar, I think, is one of the words that has been frequently used. A lot of times when people write things, we tend to use the same word over and over again. I totally fall into this. So it's really a good idea to have a thesaurus with you and always try to use similar words instead of repeating the same words over and over again. So, I think he does tend to use that word a bit much. Anyway, the human era database. I don't remember why I highlighted it. Right, going on. Who called it an... Oh yeah, this line just felt strange to me. So Ninus is saying, there are more enemy signals up ahead, Ninus said as an annoyed expression replaced a smile. You don't call 5 machines an outbreak. You're right, replied Ninus, sighing deeply. Well, who called it an outbreak in the first place? I was kind of confused by that. I don't think anybody called it an outbreak. But anyway, right. Going on. Couple of commas missing here. And again, the trio shows up. Despite making noises that were assumed to be words, who assumed them to be words? Why did you phrase it like this? So we're talking about the machines all of a sudden making sounds that resemble words, spoken language. So it might have been better to change the wording here to say something more like that. Sounds that resemble language, like cognitive language. Something like that. That's right, machine sounds have no meaning. Oh, there's a couple paragraphs here. Yeah, so the focus here is observing the different. Yeah, so we start out with 9S in this paragraph, and then this is not 9S talking and 9S thinking. And then all of a sudden in the same paragraph we have 2B becoming the subject for the rest of it. And this is another line by 9S. This is a writer's choice, I think. I think I would prefer a paragraph break here. And I think the actual Japanese novel breaks this up here as well. What is this? Oh, I crossed this out. 2B's attack had been insufficient to incapacitate it. I just felt that this additional clause was unnecessary. 2B's attack had been sufficient because just then one of the machines that had rolled down the dune popped up. 2B's attack had been insufficient. It's up to you. I die, run. Oh, this is different. Yeah, this is different from the Japanese novel. Now, this is my pristine, nice, clean, unwritten in novel. And I've also got another one that I use. It's really boro and banged up quite a lot. This is what I use to compare things in. So this was, what was this? I die, I died to see them. What is it? This is page 18. So it's around the same area. I thought. Page what? 18. It should be the same. All right, here's where it's talking about the resistance leader. Okay. And we've got, okay, here's the asterisk down there. Where did it go? I die. Oh, here it is. So it's before that. It's just before that. I don't know where it went. I can't find it now. I thought I... Oh, here it is. Here it is. So he says, Shinu, nigeru, nigeru, kowai! So, it's not I die, but, I mean... Oh, jeez. I'll die. I would translate this more as I will. I'll die. Gotta run, gotta run. Run, run. It's scary. That kind of thing. It's very small. I know I'm being nitpicky. Hi, moving on. So this is what it means to take to your heels. This is the section where it starts using this term here. 逃げ足が速い。逃げ足が速い。So this means that when you run away, you're very quick, or you're quick to run away. So here they translated it as take to your heels. I don't really know what that means. It just means to run away, but here it means to quickly run away. Right? Or that you're quick to run away. So it uses that, the term to be quick about it. Whereas here it just means to run away without any additional information about how fast you're doing that. So I changed this to quick to turn tail and flee. Something like that might have been better. Hi. Down here, if you're using machines with a capital M, this should be capitalized. Down here, this is just an example of the translator not referencing the game in the terms that are used in the official release of the game. This is a location in the game called the housing complex, Danchi. It's the Mamosu Danchi. And technically this is not incorrect to just call it this way, a complex. But in the game, it specifically uses housing complex. It's an apartment building complex, basically. So since it's in the game, you really should use the same. Going on. Type S, it should be the other way around. S-type. 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 S-gata だから S-gata. S-type. You don't need to switch it up. Oh, down here. This is interesting. So sure enough, it was 9S who took interest in the information. I wonder... Alright, I'm just gonna cut the rest of the sentence out. I wondered 9S. Please avoid using the same word in the sentence and how he says it. This is just kind of lazy. Use a thesaurus. It's not hard to do. This is a typo. There's no pod 142. It's 042. I said, who is 142? I don't know. I know I'm being really, really picky, so please, I know. Cut me some slack. I'm cutting him some slack a little bit too, so it doesn't really matter. So again, the mammoth complex should be the housing complex. Here, this was interesting. There are many machines living underneath the shadows of the leaning building. I'm being very, very technical here. How can you go underneath shadows? Underneath shadows. Underneath shadows. Wouldn't that be in the shadows? How can you go underneath the shadows unless you're like going under the ground or something like that? I don't know. I just thought it sounded weird. I would rephrase this sentence. The enemy that had taken to its heels. Oh, so it's using that terminology again, and the Japanese did as well. So I can understand why it's revisited here, but it's I didn't like that term. To cleanse the area. Oh goodness. If so, the android's task would not be complete until they cleanse this area. So to cleanse the area, what you really mean is that you're destroying all the machine targets in the area. You're not necessarily cleansing it, but you're ridding the area of the threat of the machines. So what did I say? Oh, the word in Japanese they used, I forget what specific word it was, but it meant to conquer. Basically, conquer or defeat, destroy the enemy. So that's very different from cleansing the area. Going on. What was this? Gakushu nōryoku shinka. So I'm not sure what I was talking about here. Something that referring to evolving. The word that was in parentheses here was actually shinka, so that is to evolve. So gakushu nōryoku is the ability to learn. So there's really not too much problem there. I'm already after 30 minutes, so I'm gonna stop here and I'll continue again later. Hi, until next time, bye-bye.